you can sense them, like they're like little dogs, like wagging their tail, like, oh, somebody can see me, somebody knows I'm here, you know, and it's like they'll get real excited and you go get messed. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm so.
So either you're just going to get messed with or you're not, and you know it does kind of invade your privacy. But I've always told people that I went to other homes and just friends that will call and say, you know, what do I do? And I'm like, you've got to communicate. You know, even if it's just talking out loud. And somebody told me that one time, and I said, no way. I am not going to talk out loud to a spirit, because I was afraid they could talk back to me, you know. And until I really started understanding the way it worked, and I meditate a lot, and I tell people that meditating is so great for you. And not only does it help you just ground, but it helps if you really want to communicate with, you know, with whatever's in your house, and you can ask, you know, and you can get some information for yourself. But anyway, that kind of went off subject. But yeah, I mean, I do sometimes feel that way, but I feel like I have more control now because it doesn't scare me, and I'm not afraid of it now.
It's funny because, I mean, you know, when my father, you know, a lot of you in the audience know about my father's stroke a couple of years back and all the things that have happened. And it turns out that it's very common for, you know, paranormal phenomena to happen around a very ill family member. And so we had a big spike in the activity immediately begin, and have been pretty consistent in kind of waves for the last 2 years. And we go through these periods where when he's going to start to have seizures, we'll get a lot of activity kind of warning us. And we're still, and I'm looking at it from a professional paranormal view sometimes that I think maybe is it him doing it, or is it actually a combination of him and, you know, family members coming in? And I tend to think that's more of it. But what was interesting was about, you know, that got me into all this, and I started talking to the ghosts on my property, and I had the same experience you did, where a couple of them turned out to be a real couple of jokers, and they were really into messing with me. And until I, you know, and I think that's one of the ones that came in and decided he was going to, you know, test the boundaries, and he found out he got thrown right out. But, you know, it just, I kind of came to the conclusion that rarely will I talk to the ghosts on my own property, unless I have a compelling reason to go out and maybe test some equipment. I'll acknowledge them, and I do take them out gifts at the holidays and things like that. So, but it's on my terms. So I don't know if you've come to that same place.
That's great. No, I mean that's great that you've gotten to that point, because because we are in charge. Because they to me it's either they've left the physical world and now are spirit. So they're just energy, you know, and they're a memory, I guess, of what they used to be physical, because they don't have a physical body anymore. To me, it's either that, them, your relatives, your friends hanging around, or guides. You know, I mean, we all have guides, and a lot of people believe that. Some people don't, but I think that they, you know, because guides are, you know, are similar. They have energy as well. So a lot of it's energy, and it could be when you're experiencing energy. And this is your dad you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it could very well be, you know, relatives that are coming through and just being there to comfort you guys too. You know, not just your dad, but to be, you know, comforting you. My aunt, she passed away. I'm going to tell you this really quick story. She passed away in February. She's my favorite aunt. I loved her to pieces. I have, you know, there's 3 sisters, my mom and her 2 sisters. And she smoked her whole life. And she got real sick and started getting really bad vertigo. And this was in December of last year. And they thought maybe she had like inner ear infection or something, you know, because she was having vertigo type symptoms. And it just kept getting worse. And they never x-rayed her. They never, you know, every time she'd go in, they'd give her some pills and say, okay, be on your way. So that was in November. December comes around, and she's really sick now. She can't go to work. She can't get out of bed. She has to, you know, lean up against the pillow, and she was in the ER, and then she came back out. Then she went back in the ER, like, right after Christmas, right. Sometime in January. And she had, when we took her, she had this massive brain tumor. And they did the surgery, and, you know, it didn't work because it spread everywhere. And when she passed away in February, it was like they brought her home on hospice care, and while she was in there, it was like there's so much energy that I couldn't even be in the room for very long because there was so much energy. And it was like, was the energy coming from the family members? Because I'm sure there was a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, and that causes, energy spikes probably. Or was it relatives? I had her son come to me, and just prior to when she had surgery, and he had died. And she wanted me to do a reading on her health. And instead, her son comes through. And so he could sit there, it could be her mom in there. It could be a lot of things, I think. But the really interesting thing is after she passed away, she smoked outside. My mom and her lived together, and when she would smoke outside my mom's door because she's not allowed to smoke in the house. When she died that morning at like 9 o'clock in the morning, at about 3 o'clock in the morning, I went outside to do laundry. So when I opened the door, on my mat is a crumpled up pack of cigarettes and an empty bottle of water. And it was the weirdest thing. It really kind of freaked me out. I thought, well, who would do such a thing?
Yeah.
And then I looked at the pack, and I called up my mom, and then I called my sister, and I called my mom, and I wanted to know, well, what kind of cigarettes did Aunt Janet smoke? And they were the exact same pack of cigarettes that she smoked.
Oh my.
And the water bottle that she drank. And I was sitting there thinking, how did she do that? So it's just such a big mystery. I mean, spirit is such a mystery, but it's just not. I just don't see it as something to be feared. I think a lot of people just get afraid because it's the unknown, and Hollywood's made spirit, has done a great job, and religion too, making it negative.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I mean, I've been doing this quite a while now, and I find that kind of like what I was saying earlier in the show. I don't know if you were listening, but I've often found that if you just treat them with some respect and go out there and talk to them like you would talk to any other person and be respectful, it's not going to be the big Hollywood thing. It's a very almost mundane thing, but they just want you to know they're there, and they want to. Some of them are a little bit naughty at times, just like what you were talking about. But more often than not, you have very amicable folks, and I think that they're just trying to get attention. And that just seems to me to be the aim of them. And it's just like you said, when they get that attention, they are just like puppy dogs, and you have to set some ground rules.
Yeah, house rules are huge because if they want to coexist, you got to have house rules, or they're just going to run your life, and then you're going to be exhausted and tired and scared all the time.
Yeah, it was funny when my dad had the stroke. I've told this story a couple of times. I was sleeping up at the main ranch house, kind of supporting my mother because she was just so freaked out. And Dad was in critical condition in the up at the Marshall Hospital, and I woke up to somebody blowing on my back, and I ripped around. It was early morning. I look around, and there's no one there, and I happened to mention it. And I felt like somebody was smiling at me. I felt like a man was smiling at me. I had this vision of this tall man, and I brought it up to my mother, and she laughed, and she says, "That's something your Uncle Mike would do to people when he was alive." And he had passed, and I had been actually very instrumental in his passing because I was kind of the person that held the family together because none of them were able to really cope with what was happening. He had mesothelioma in 2003, so I don't know what it was, but I was talking about things, and it was coming from someplace, and it was not me. Like I was channeling the stuff. I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew who to talk to, when to talk to, and bring them together, what to do. And about 5 minutes before he passed, then I took my bow and left the family to be there. But we've had many sightings of him on the property ever since. But he's a real joker. He likes to blow on your back, and I found this out. It was him. So it's turned out to be very comforting. It's occasionally disturbing. You see half a torso walk by. You're scratching your head going, what the hell did I just see? And then you realize,
That's really cool. I mean, in a way, I mean, even now, it's still a little bit unsettling because why? I mean, I always want to know why. How did they come back? Where are they going? What are they doing? Where are they at? I mean, I'm like, have so many questions, and that was one of the things that's great, because on this path that I'm on, I'm sure to get the questions answered, eventually.